Vergil, Dante, happy birthday.
Wow! I want chocolate! No, I want chocolate!
In my previous DMC character analysis video, I talked about the colors red and blue, the two main colors that define Dante and Vergil's character design, and tried my best explaining that red is mostly associated with the body and physical strength, while blue is the color of mind and spirituality. However, there is actually a second pair of color that can describe the two characters, silver for Dante and golden for Vergil. So in this video, I'm going to take a deeper look at the alchemical and symbolical meaning of these colors and substances. But to understand all this, first we need to take a closer look at Dante and Vergil's amulets. In the first Devil May Cry, the two amulets of Dante and Vergil is being introduced to the story. These amulets both look the same with a silver chain, and they had been given to the twins as a birthday gift by their mother when they were children. But in the first game, Vergil enters the story as a dark knight called Nilo Angelo, being mind-controlled by Mundus, who is forcing him to fight his brother. And the main purpose these amulets serve in the first story is to allow Vergil to recognize Dante, and for Dante to recognize Vergil, but the time he does so, it's too late. Then, Dante combines the two amulets, and they being absorbed into the Sword of Sparda, and it transforms into its true form as a result. Previously on the timeline, however, the two amulets combined together also served as one of the keys needed to unlock Sparda's seal within the Temani group, and upon doing so, opening the major portal between the human world and the demon world. However, the design of the amulets changed in Devil May Cry 3, turning the chain of Vergil's amulet into golden. This change was very much needed in order for the player to easily discern the two amulets from each other, as the amulets start to change hands and they become a very important part of the story. But this choice of colors left me in confusion. I started thinking, why would Dante get the silver chain necklace while Vergil has his amulet on golden chains? Shouldn't it be the other way around? I thought silver would suit Vergil better. After all, in alchemy, silver is associated with the moon, and Vergil can be seen standing in front of the moon when we first meet him. We also have to use Quicksilver in the first DMC in order to unlock the door that leads to Nilo Angelo's final boss room. And in DMC 4, Vergil is illustrated with the moon next to him, reflected from a puddle. This is why I kept thinking about why Dante has the silver chain pendant while Vergil has the golden one. But upon taking a closer look at the environment, character design, and item descriptions, I found many more clues linking Dante to silver and Vergil to gold. And upon reading into the alchemical symbolism in the game, I realized there is a meaning behind silver and gold, giving the characters even more depth. Let's start with looking for clues that connects Dante with silver and the moon. In the first Devil May Cry, the very first cutscene starts at night, with Trish appearing in front of the moon to meet Dante and send him on his journey. In parallel with that, Dante also can be seen sitting in the darkness under the moonlight in DMC 5 as well. Later in the first DMC, Dante needs to navigate under the moonlight to pick up a key item called Quicksilver in order to open the door that leads to Nilo Angelo. In this case, silver can also be related to Dante, as he needs to overcome a challenge to get stronger in order to be able to confront Angelo for the final time. In Devil May Cry 3, in the cutscene where Dante unleashes his devil trigger for the very first time, he does so right in front of the moon, and even the circular aura of his energy being framed by it. So instead of associating Vergil with the moon because he stands in front of it when you first meet him, we can interpret this instead as Vergil is facing the moon in anticipation to literally face Dante. Later in the game, Dante also obtains a new style ability called Quicksilver, making him capable of slowing down time around him. Another really nice clue in DMC3 is the sealed door in Mission 16 that you need to unlock by obtaining two key items, the Golden Sun and the Onyx Moon Shard. In order to do so, he has to choose between two doors, a red one and a blue one. The red door leads to the Moon Shard, and the blue door leads to the Golden Sun. If we associate red with Dante and blue with Vergil, then these doors can further make you draw the connection between Dante and the moon. Onyx is a material that can be any color, but it's mostly black. The item description of the moon shard says, a sculpture etched in the shape of an onyx moon. It contrasts the golden sun sculpture. As another clue, we can also mention the only weapon that both Dante and Vergil uses in the third game, Beowulf. In Beowulf's action list for Vergil, there are 3 names related to astrology: Starfall, Rising Sun, and Lunar Phase. And finally, the Moon of Jester. Arkham only reveals himself as Jester in front of Dante in order to fool him, making a connection between the two characters. And as to give us one final clue, Jester uses a giant ball resembling a twisted, smiling moon when he fights Dante. In astrology, gold is also the symbol of the sun. The sun, as an important symbol, is also being shown in the game multiple occasions and actually connecting the sun to Vergil. So let's take a closer look at every clue that associates Vergil with the color of gold and the sun. Starting right off with Vergil's visual design, we can notice that not only his amulet hangs on a golden chain, but his secondary accent color is actually the shades of gold. Upon taking a closer look, his blue coat is filled with golden on the inside and lined with golden on the edges of the outside. The ropes on the sheet of the Yamato are also yellow, and there is golden can be seen on Yamato's design, which is especially detailed in DMC5. In the 5th game, even though the color of his coat turns the darkest shade of blue, you can still see the faded colors of golden on the inside. And if we wanna take this a step further, we could see his gloves and boots are also kind of brownish and goldenish compared to Dante's black clothing design. The same goes for V's X costume accent colors, featuring a golden version of the serpent/centipede pattern. Nero's EX costume in DMC5 also heavily features the color of gold, turning even his hair color brown. But let's stay focused on Vergil. In the first Devil May Cry, when we enter the room where we technically meet Vergil for the very first time, there is an emblem of the sun right next to the mirror where he enters from. And the two things being so close to each other, I can't help but assume there is meant to be a connection between Nilo Angelo and the sun emblem. Upon examining it, the description says, an emblem of a sun is engraved. There is something written beneath it. The brightness of the guiding light will scorch you. Only those who can bear the light can open the new path. This description could refer to Vergil being the scorching light of the sun, and Dante has to bear it, or in other words, fight him in order to open a new path. But the description also calls his light as the guiding light. This is also well suited for Vergil, being a guide to Dante, not only as an enemy he needs to follow, but even back in the Divine Comedy, Vergil was also the guide for Dante through hell. Furthermore, to open the passage behind the sun emblem, Dante has to pick up the key item called Guiding Light, a key that shines in Ardor. It slowly drains the power of the possessor. I never really heard of the word Ardor before, so I looked it up, and it's a word for great enthusiasm or passion, so it's a sun key that shines with enthusiasm. Furthermore, the very first time we fight Vergil is under a beautiful sunset. He can be further linked to the sun by Nilo Angelo's musical theme, which is titled Ultraviolet. And ultraviolet is a radiation wave present in sunlight. And without going into further scientific details, let's just point out one thing, that it is the ultraviolet radiation that causes sunburn on your skin. And this can be linked back to the sunlight emblem, which said, the brightness of the guiding light will scorch you. And finally, we have another statue that can be found right after you defeat Nilo Angelo for the second time, a gold statue of a knight. You need to insert the chalice you found previously into the statue of the knight in order to proceed. There is not much to say here other than another reference to God, but the knight can also be referred to Nilo Angelo as well, as he is currently serving as a mind-controlled knight of Mundus. In the prequel, Devil May Cry 3, we can continue to find clues associating Vergil with the sun. Starting from the very first cutscene when he appears, he is shown standing in front of the sunset, even showing a beautiful shot for a moment with the Yamato in front of the bright sun. His second cutscene continues to be played out in the sunset on top of the tower when he has a brief interaction with Arkham and the demon. Then the sun settles and the entire game continues to play out during the night. Next, we have yet again the Golden Sun sculpture key item that you pick up by proceeding through a blue door that is at the opposite side of the red door in Mission 16. First of all, let's examine the key item itself. The picture shows a golden, round-shaped object with two smaller circles on each side. The description is pretty much the same as the Onyx Moonshard. What's more interesting is the text that you can read on the wall in the room where you have to get the golden sun item by solving a little puzzle. The description says, "He who pursues the eternal power of the golden sun, release me from the darkness." And the word power stands out here once again, as if it refers to Vergil pursuing the power, and the phrase "release me from the darkness" could also be referring to him being like a source of light, but trapped in darkness. This ambiguous description tries to tell you that you need to break the ball that hangs on a chain by hitting it and making it swing as much as possible until it hits the wall and breaks. But at this point, you might remember you did this exact same puzzle already in the game previously, right before you opened the door that leads to the first Vergil boss fight. In order to open the door that leads to Vergil, you had to obtain the other pair of the Crystal Skull item. Then, in order to do so, you got the same description as for the Golden Sun. Those who seek the Crystal Skull, free me from the depths of the darkness. And yet again, you have to break a single ball in order to get the item. And then finally, we yet again have Beowulf, and Vergil's unique moveset with this weapon includes names like Rising Sun and Lunar Phase and Starfall, the only weapon that both brothers using in the game with astrological names for Vergil's moveset. We can also mention that the Rising Sun is not only related to alchemy, but the sun could also refer to Japan, which is also called the Land of the Rising Sun, and the Japanese flag symbolizes the sun. This could be relevant to Vergil since he is being described as an honorable, samurai-like warrior with his iconic Japanese katana. And speaking of the katana, the Yamato also has circular symbols on it that can be seen on its model in DMC5. If you look closer, you can see 3 circles on it, and each 3 circle consists of smaller circles. It kinda could be interpreted as a sun symbol as well, or the 3 circles can also be seen as divine. I'm not going to go too deep into that topic, but it's something to think about. And now that we collected all the clues we got from every game that associates Dante with silver and the moon, and Vergil with gold and the sun, let's move on to try to interpret what these substances represent and see if we can find similar aspects with the characters. First of all, as a substance, silver is a soft, whitish gray, lustrous transition metal which exhibits the highest electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, and reflectivity of any metal. And if Dante is associated with silver, it's also true for him how electricity seems to be a very prominent feature for him, especially in the first Devil May Cry. Trish appearing in front of the moon comes to team up with Dante, and quickly turns out that she is a demon who can generate and use electricity as a weapon. Later, Dante finds a sword called Alastor, which is a sword infused with electricity, giving the wielder lightning speed. In Devil May Cry 3, we also got electricity weapons for Dante. A female demon named Nevan turns into an electricity weapon, a guitar sight. Silver is also a good conductor for heat, which makes you think about the next weapon Dante obtains after Alastor, the fiery gauntlets Ifrit. Silver is also a highly reflective material and is used in the making of mirrors, and mirrors being a very important theme in all Devil May Cry, especially in the first, third, and fifth game, representing not only portals between the human world and the demon world, but also being a theme for the two worlds being the reflection of each other, mirrors and reflections, even water symbolizing the duality of humanity and demons. As a quote from the first Devil May Cry, "Evil is a reflection of man. Thus, evil lurks inside the mirror." But the interesting way of connecting Dante with being capable of reflection is the way he reflects Vergil in his eyes. In the intro scene of Devil May Cry 3, in the last moment before his brother stabs him, Dante's upside-down eyes being shown reflecting Vergil. Then in Devil May Cry 5, he also reflects Vergil, but this time in his Urizen and V form, hinting at the scene from DMC3 to help you connect Urizen and V with Vergil being yet again reflected. But Vergil was also a reflection of Dante way back in the first game, when he makes his very first appearance through a mirror, pretending to be his brother's reflection for a second. After all, they are twins, being literally the mirror image of each other. Silver can also be used in a process called amalgamation to combine and bind it together with any material, so it's very versatile. Due to this, silver is being capable of taking on the property of other things. This can be paralleled with Dante's ability to adapt and use any other new weapons. In fact, he always gets new weapons in every game, and it's always an exciting moment when you defeat a boss and obtaining their power as a new weapon, and Dante, being like silver, being able to quickly adapt and combine together with other materials and weapons. In alchemy, silver is also called quicksilver or mercury. Makes you immediately think of Dante's new style he acquires in DMC3 called quicksilver. Not much to do with silver, but quicksilver allows you to temporarily slow down time around you in order to stop the movement of enemies as well. In alchemy, silver is associated with the moon and is considered a pure metal, linked to divinatory practices and healing energies. Silver is also connected to dreams, love, and luck. And because of silver being closely tied to the moon, it represents femininity as well as an opposite side of the sun, which symbolizing masculinity. I have already connected Dante with the moon, but haven't explained the feminine aspects yet. The way I could connect Dante with femininity and Vergil with masculinity is through their parents. Dante from the very beginning is being associated with his deceased mother Eva. Eva also being represented by wearing a red dress, similarly to how Dante always wears red. And sadly, Dante seems to can't let go of the memory of Eva, treasuring her picture in his desk from the very beginning of the first Devil May Cry until the latest game, DMC5, as if her death is a constant reminder to him that evil exists and he needs to be reminded for the reason he's fighting against demons. While on the other hand, Vergil is only focusing on their father, Sparda's memory. He wants to become like their powerful father and take on responsibility to protect mankind, just like Sparda did. Even in the very last cutscene of the game, Dante and Vergil recalling their childhood memories about each other, and Dante talks about their mother, while Vergil yet again mentions their father.
Because mommy got mad.
I seem to recall you crying every time Father raised his voice.
Although Dante focuses on their mother while Vergil focuses on their father, that doesn't mean they never consider the other side. And there are some moments when Dante finally starts contemplating about his father and why he left him the rebellion. And Vergil also finally being shown to confront his feelings towards the memory of their mother, when he's being V, realizing that all this time he was like a child who just needs to feel the protection and love of a mother. And it seems like this is what the two characters needed to realize within themselves all along. Dante had to find the masculine side within and take on responsibility, while Vergil has to find the feminine side within, to find love and allow to be more gentle and forgiving with himself. The moon and the sun could also represent darkness and light. The moon shows up when it's dark and the sun emits light. And Dante's story also starts during the night in the first DMC game with the full moon shining outside. He's also sitting in complete darkness without electricity at the beginning of DMC5, which is more of a comedic approach to the darkness aspect, but still could imply something sad about Dante's lack of motivation. And the darkness, of course, could also hint at Dante's strong demonic side within that he needs to confront and embrace. One of the strongest symbols for this moment is the boss fight against the doppelganger in DMC3, where even the mission start screen tells you, confront your shadow. And Dante does so and even embraces it to become more powerful. And as I previously explained, Vergil is being associated with the guiding and scorching light of the sun, and as Dante always mirrors and contrasts him, he could be associated with the moon and darkness. And finally, the moon and silver seems like to be associated with the body. It represents the organs of the body and also having healing properties. The alchemists also use silver's antibacterial properties to heal wounds and contagions and fight against infections and inflammation. These themes of the body seems to further confirm one of my theories about Dante representing the body, while Vergil being the mind. So Dante's main color, the color of red, being associated with the color of blood, but also Dante's secondary accent color, silver, is also linked to the body. And this is in contrast with Vergil being the mind, symbolized with the colors of blue and golden. And now that we probably exhausted the topic of silver, let's move on to the symbolism of gold, being associated with Vergil. Gold is an unreactive substance, and it's one of the most stable elements. It is very hard to destroy and very hard to make. Gold is a bright, yellow, dense, soft, and malleable metal. It is also highly ductile and an excellent conductor of heat and electricity. Gold is resistant to corrosion and tarnish, making it a noble metal. In alchemy, gold represents perfection, purity, and the sun. Alchemists aim to turn base metals into gold not just for material gain, but also as a symbolic journey of purification and spiritual advancement. The process of transmutation, especially from lead to gold, was seen as an elegy for personal transformation and the attainment of enlightenment. So for the alchemists, gold represented the perfection of all matter on any level, including that of the mind, spirit, and soul. And this is another beautiful connection to make between Vergil being the mind and soul, which it turns out not only symbolized by the color of blue, but also the color of golden. And finally, gold's alchemical symbol is also associated with the sun in astrology. But in alchemy, the sun symbol primarily represents gold and the masculine principle. It also symbolizes the divine spark in man, nobility and incorruptibility. The sun, along with the moon, represents the two most precious metals, gold and silver, and is often depicted in alchemical art as a couple bound together, symbolizing the union of opposites. I find all this symbolism of gold and the sun being very suitable for Vergil. As the opposite of Dante, Vergil being the light also makes sense. He is not only associated with the guiding light multiple times in DMC1, but in DMC3 as well. His style is called the Dark Slayer, literally being like the light fighting against the darkness. His second weapon, the Beowulf, also uses the power of light. Vergil's main musical theme in DMC5 also being called Bury the Light, referring to Vergil oppressing the light within himself, trying to cast it away in order to become stronger. In fact, not realizing that he needs to embrace it instead, as it's the source of his strength. And with that, I hope I mentioned everything I could about this topic in exhaustion. I might have repeated a couple of things over and over, but I just tried to make sure I don't forget anything, since this topic is actually quite deep and I could go for another hour talking about this, but I just tried to make this message about silver and gold to come across, and I hope you learned something new and gained some new perspective on the characters and the story. I also could have been wrong about a couple of things, so make sure you do your own research or write a comment below the video about your ideas. I'm going to put this video on the Devil May Cry lore videos playlist that you can find in the description, so you can watch more videos like this if you're interested. And as always, thank you for watching and supporting the channel, and see you in the next one.